All right, welcome to the first episode of Biz Talk with Sean. As you can guess, my name is Bob. No, my name is Sean Hupel, and the purpose of this television series is I'm going to be educating you on business. Now, who am I and why? So I've been tutoring bachelor's and master's students for the past 10 years, and I personally hold the BSBA with a focus on marketing. I own the BS, so I could talk the BS. Yay! What we're going to be talking about are different business strategies, different methods. If you want to start your own business, if you want to grow your own business, or you just find nerdy stuff interesting, I'm here for you. Let's start with the basics and then we'll be moving our way up. One thing I can promise you is I'm going to try to explain things in the simplest way possible. People of Walmart. And we're going to be moving on from there to more complex topics, but if you watch every episode, then what's going to happen is you're going to be able to keep up with everything. I've been tutoring for a very long time, and some of my students were very much struggling, and I am so proud of my students. Anyway, let's jump into it. What is a business? I told you it was going to be simple. So a business is basically an exchange of goods and services. And then later on in the future, that's when you had the cha-ching. Yay! Back in the pre-Old English 800 era, we had these people running around with rocks, and they were hunter-gatherers. And then one day, a guy came up with an innovation, or a lady, who knows? And they put a stick with some twine with a rock, and they made a spear. So let's imagine I was the gatherer. I'm not exactly a hunter. Somebody like me would have come up with that and would have walked up to the hunter and said, you know what? I want some meat. Give me some steak. And they would have offered that superior hunting tool, so a good, for the service that the hunter provides, which is hunting. And that's kind of how the whole thing got started. But let's fast forward a couple thousand years, and all of a sudden we got this intangible thing called currency, that cha-ching. Yay! Now, currency is meant to represent goods or services in an intangible manner. So basically, currency doesn't exist except in our minds. But because it exists in our minds, we can use it to represent goods or services. I mean, if you want to go back to the old days when banking was first established, basically, people would keep money, and then some guy had this crazy idea of lending money he didn't have. And of course, when the townspeople came by and said, "Where's my money?" They all tried to pull out because, I don't know, the world was ending or something. The guy didn't have the money because he's been lending the money. So what happened? And he got hung. So in today's marketplace, basically what we've got is we have an exchange of goods and services, but now we've got so many different ways to access those goods and services. We have the internet, we have Twitter, we have Amazon, we have eBay. It's amazing. What we're going to be learning throughout this, I guess you might say course, is how to leverage each one of these different avenues. So an entrepreneur is basically somebody who says, I don't want to work for you, I'm going to do my own. With every entrepreneur, you are going to fail. Every one of us has failed. I have started a successful computer business before. It ran pretty well. And then I moved on to another business. It flopped. And then I went into consulting. One thing that you're going to be finding is when it comes to starting a business, the more you prepare, the better off you're going to be. All right, so we've covered the basics of what is business. Now, what is a business? I'm going to use a hammer and I'm going to build a lemonade stand. Only they're not selling lemonade. They're basically killing animals and saying, here's a skin, stay warm. A place where people can come to buy your goods or solicit your services. In the United States of America, well, pretty much the entire world, but I mean, we're here, so hi. So in the United States of America, you have different types of businesses, okay? If I go over to your house and I say, pay me some money and I'll mow your lawn for you, all right? That is considered a sole proprietorship, meaning I'm working for myself, by myself, with myself, and I'm just pushing the thing along. When you're working by yourself, it's considered a sole proprietorship, but you still have to register. And then you have different types of corporations, which don't worry, I'm not going to bore you with all that stuff right now. Later on, when it's like actually interesting and you could follow everything, sure. But in the meantime, the reason for filing for a corporation, okay, when you're working in a sole proprietorship, basically if anything goes wrong, it's on you. Better have some insurance because if like that thing drops and breaks that person's car or, you know, kills that person's cat, I hope it doesn't, I hope cats are fine because I love cats. Let's say the worst happens, okay? You're gonna be on the line if you're a sole proprietorship and you don't have insurance. And we'll talk about insurance later. When you get into a recognized business, so for example, an LLC or a C Corp or an S Corp, what that does is basically saying, okay, I'm a corporation. I'm a person. And I'm responsible. And then you're over here like, yep, it was his fault. It was his fault. No, it wasn't. The law says it is. And that's basically how everything rolls out. The whole purpose behind setting up corporations is number one, taxes. Number two, liability. Liability is boom, your car's dead. Now I've got to pay for it? Bill my company. And that's why a lot of people will file for things beyond a sole proprietorship. An LLC is a good way to start if you're starting out your business. But what we're going to move into now is we're going to talk about doing research and a business plan. Because the main reason that businesses fail is because people didn't plan ahead of time. And you've really got to take that time to plan. Let's start off with, okay, what are you going to start for a business? First thing, you need to be interested in it. Me, you, be interested in it. It has to be something that you have been looking into, something that you find fascinating, something you find fun. It's got to maintain your interest. Now, is that for every type of business started out there, period? No. I mean, sometimes folks' only interest is, I want to make some of that. Yay! But in the meantime, you've got to make sure that it's something that you're going to want to study, because you're going to want to study. You will always be studying for your business. You're going to study the marketplace. You're going to study what new innovations have come across. Think about it this way. Before Amazon, there was eBay. Before eBay, there was a swap meet. That's basically it. eBay took a swap meet and it just put it online. Then Amazon was like, you know what? I can do this better. And Amazon did. Things are constantly changing, and the people over at the swap meet are like, my business is not going well. It's not working. And that's kind of what's going to happen. You're going to always be researching your business. My obsession is business administration with psychology, because that's kind of my thing. And I am always studying like business innovations for deployment, and I'm always studying psychology. So if you want to start a car business, right? Because I just spoke to somebody who has a beetle business. He finds old beetles, he buys them cheap, and he fixes them up. Okay, that's something he's very interested in. And I've got another client that he works in antique and art deco and really beautiful vintage jewelry. That's his interest. He likes that. And I've got a lady that I know that likes to write books. That is her interest. You've got to find something that you're going to want to keep doing if you're going to start a business. First off, you've got to research, okay, what are you going to sell? Second, you've got to look into competitive advantage. Okay, what differentiates you from everybody else way over there? Yeah, they've got a better quality product, maybe. They've got this, they've got that. So what distinguishes you from everybody else? Why would you even bother starting that business? Don't get discouraged by this at all, because everybody starts somewhere. Every great business started somewhere. In my case, when I was selling computers, I started off as kind of a freelancer. So I went to an auction, I bought a pallet of computers, and I just studied into it. Thankfully, I had a few people to help me along the way to teach me IT. And this was, 10 years ago, 10, 12 years ago, like a long time. It's not always easy when you're starting off, because keep in mind, you've got to look into the simple solution, or the simple ways of getting what you want to sell. How to make it work, like this thing that you're interested in. And then you have to research, what do your competitors look like? Search Craigslist. If you want to, search Backpage. Search OfferUp. Okay, that's going to tell you what your competition's going to be. It's going to tell you just a little bit about what's going on. Let's say, and I'm talking about more of a product-based. We'll talk service-based in a little bit. Number 3 is, what is your competitive advantage? Are you cheaper? Do you offer higher quality? Do you offer better customer service? Do you have more diverse ways of selling? Because there was a time when I sold modded Wiis. Okay, so basically I took a Nintendo Wii and I threw some retro games and an emulator on it. I offered a service, and my competitive advantage compared to other people selling video games is I sold a complete package of retro video games. And these are, old discontinued systems like ColecoVision, Atari 2600, just those ancient ones. So for example, if you are a beautician, we're going to call that a service, but also a product, because you can see an end result almost immediately. So we're going to call that a product too. So let's say you're a beautician, like some of my clients have been. Then what's going to happen is you're going to want to first start soliciting with other people. You want to start off small. You don't want to jump in feet first on your first business. If you're working on a budget, you don't want to jump in both feet first. You want to get your toe wet, and then you want to slide yourself in so that you are not extra cold from the water. Because don't get me wrong, the water can be cold in business. And you don't want to drown either. You want to teach yourself how to swim. You don't just want to go into the deep end unless you've got a life raft. So starting off small, starting off with friends, starting off on Craigslist, OfferUp, that is a good way to start your business. But what is your competitive advantage? Which you're going to have to just look at the competition and see, okay, number one, what are they selling? What's the quality? What's the price? And what are their probable margins? Like, oh, how much are they actually making off everything they're selling? Yay! Because you've got to buy stuff to sell it. It's called suppliership, unless you're just making it from scratch yourself, which if you are, awesome. I know some rock carvers. They put little memorials and whatnot into rocks, but they got an engraving machine, which costs some money. Unless you're just doing it by hand the old chisel way, which, I mean, I'm all for the classics myself. I just don't know how practical it is for your time. Most people are not going to do that. Most people are going to buy something and then they're going to resell it. They might do a couple little tweaks to it, but they're going to buy parts and supplies, which moves us into our next one. You got your competitive advantage. How much does it cost to do business? So when I sold computers, I still remember it was my last $800 of unemployment. And I went to an auction and I bought a pallet of computers, and I knew very little about computers. That was probably the wrong choice because I didn't do my research, but I made it work. And sometimes you get lucky like that. There are a lot of people out there that get lucky. I was obsessive about it. I was passionate. I was researching left and right, and I made it work because nobody's going to hand you anything. But if you're passionate about it, you're going to be willing to throw in the extra time to do it. That's why you got to find something you like, something you're interested in, something you want to keep researching. So what you've got to do is you got to look at, okay, it's going to cost me this much to get what I need to do what I want to do. And then you've got to look into, okay, does it cost anything to market it? OfferUp, no big deal. Craigslist, a lot of things you got to pay $5 per listing now. And when you look at your competition, you got to look at, okay, how many times do you see the same person filling up all that Craigslist space? Because there was a time during my consulting career, I also built websites on the side because marketing, SEO, like search engine optimization, I used to build websites to make people get noticed. When it came to soliciting or to trying to sell myself on Craigslist, $5 can add up real quick when you're broke. You've got to budget yourself. You've got to play it safe. The reason a lot of people fail is they overextend themselves. They see a little bit of success starting off like, hey, I just made some money at this. Let me throw some more into there. No, you got to do it gradually. The people that jump in with both feet, they're the ones that maybe don't succeed. And that happens a lot. And don't get me wrong, most business people fail. Failing is not a bad thing. Sometimes you get into the wrong niche, you didn't do enough research. Sometimes you get into something, but it was much more competitive than you thought it was. Okay, that happens. But you want to find something that you are genuinely interested in, that you will continue to do the research on, that you're going to put the time in. Because starting your own business, that is a full-time gig. It really is. And anybody that tells you otherwise, they either got super lucky or they're lying to you. Let's say you found your business and you figured out, okay, it cost me $100 to buy this. I'll use computers. $100 to buy this computer, and I want to upgrade it, so I'm going to pay $20 to get some extra RAM. I'm going to pay $150 to give it that awesome video card, because I got that main computer for a deal, a steal, which you can't. You've got this business here. You got this cost. You're going to make twice as much money, which I did with computers all the time. Same thing with websites. I made good money for the time I spent. You've researched your competition, and now what you've got to do, you've got to work to set that money aside. Now, a lot of folks, when they're starting businesses and whatnot, they don't necessarily want to get a second job. But sometimes if you're margin for margin with your bills, you might need to get a second job and put that extra time in. Okay, so you're margin for margin with, these are my bills and this is how much I make. I don't have any extra money. You need to make sure you've got that little extra cash to start yourself off. What I would say very early on is if you start researching different businesses and different marketing methods and all of that good stuff, you're going to find somebody over here that's going to say, give me money and I will bring you clients. I wouldn't recommend doing that from the start. You want to organically grow on your own. And I'm going to teach you throughout this series how to set yourself up, how to do a business plan, how to research competition adequately. But this is just a high overview of how to start a business, because if you jump into it too soon, too fast, and too gung-ho, then this right here is exactly how you're going to feel. You don't want to be that business owner that becomes their own employee for life. You want to eventually get to the point where a lot of what you're doing is automated. You got that machine running smoothly. When I was doing the computer business, I had it set up to where pretty much all of my computers could be installing at the same time. Your cheapest way to just start yourself off is to start with an LLC, because that offers you protection, but it lessens your load. And again, we'll talk about that in another episode. Right now, just high level, we're kind of skimming over the top here. So you've done your research, doing something that you really like, and you've taken the time to make sure you have the resources to jump into it safely. Generally, you want to start with your friends first, okay? Test it with your friends that have that need. And if not your friends, then do it with Craigslist. But also be safe, because there's some weirdos out there. So once you get going, let's say you hit it off big, kind of like I did the first time through, and things are just selling like hotcakes and whatnot, and you want to keep investing money and keep investing money. One thing to remember is there will be a slow period. They don't think about, there might be seasons to this. When I sold computers, I made most of my money throughout the year during the pre-Christmas and post-Christmas season. Meaning, honey, I'm gonna buy this for you. Oh my gosh, this is the computer that I always wanted. Oh my, will you marry me? And that brings me to another thing that I learned in the computer business is be honest. Don't try cheating people, sliding people, whatnot. It will catch up to you. Your name will go onto some scam list on the internet, and when people research you, bye-bye. That's exactly what's gonna happen. So you wanna start yourself off slow and not overextend yourself, because at the end of that Christmas season, I barely made it. But that's when you have Cyber Monday, Black Friday. Black Friday was when sales went up so much that the stock market just went black. People are impulse buyers. And generally speaking, unless you have a very specific trade skill, you're gonna find that some things are seasonal and some things are year-round. And you've got to accommodate for that. Computer repair, that's a year-round thing. Buying a computer, more of a holiday thing. Or, my thing just blew up, what do I do? You're gonna be running into scenarios like that. You need to understand what your product is and where it fits in a cycle. Again, you gotta do your research. Figure out what is the trend going to be for the season. And if you got a year-round thing like Mary Kay, good on you. Just make sure that you don't overextend yourself. Now, one of the things I do want to throw out there is there is a fear of starting a business, okay? Fear of success, it is a genuine, real thing, I promise you. There are people who are afraid to try and fail. I'd say at some point that's all of us. I mean, just getting up here in front of you, I'm afraid of this show failing. I'm pretty sure it won't. But then again, there is a fear of failure. It's very natural. And that is a healthy fear. You want to take it step by step. You don't want to take a leap. So if you need to get a second job and start a savings, take the time. And it will save you so much grief and headache. That's the whole purpose I'm doing this, is to save you some headache. So fear of starting business, that's a healthy fear, but don't let it cripple you. The one thing you can guarantee in never trying is that you will never succeed in starting your own business. Sometimes you got to take a little bit of a leap of faith, but do it cautiously. Do your research, but make sure that the people you're telling that you're starting a business to, you're gonna have some downers. It's going to happen. So, I mean, maybe keep it a little bit close to the chest at first, but if you've got somebody that you can trust, a set of outside eyes is very important, because I'm gonna talk about something else, tunnel vision. Sometimes you'll get so engrossed into something that you really are passionate about. Sometimes you can get closed-minded to where you see it this way. You've got a vision, but that vision may not be market applicable. That's the fact with a lot of people. I've known many mid-sized to large-sized businesses that have remade themselves. And this one was just kind of slowly tapering out. It's kind of like that person drowning, but they keep trying, okay? They're not reaching for the shore, they're just gonna keep trying to swim, and eventually they're gonna drown. That happens a lot. So getting tunnel vision is not a good thing. You're gonna have people that don't like what you're doing. And that's a concept called schadenfreude. Schadenfreude means we like to see other people at a disadvantage because it makes us feel a little bit better. Try to find a good friend. They're usually good people to go for. They're gonna offer positive criticism. And when I say positive criticism, I don't mean you're gonna like what you hear, especially if you've got tunnel vision, but they can help you refocus on the broader issues. Refine your logo, refine your website. It's gonna help you refine your product. How you describe your product, that's sales. And again, we're gonna cover all of these individually in other episodes. But for now, I'm just kind of breaking you in on what this is about to see, okay, are you interested in starting your own business, and do you wanna learn from me? Now, one of the big things beyond tunnel vision, beyond having an outside perspective, is work-life balance. Now, I'll give you the 4 rules that I use in order to be successful in business. And we've already covered most of it. 1, be passionate. Okay, you've got to have a heart for it. Otherwise, if you don't have a heart for it, it's just going to fall to the wayside and just bye. Number 2, you've got to do your research, which we already covered. You've got to stay in touch with the market. If I wanted to walk back into the computer industry, I couldn't. Why? Because I am out of touch. So you've got enthusiasm, you've got your research, but then you need to fearlessly and cautiously move forward. Now, what does that mean? That means don't be afraid of success, don't be afraid of failure, but be cautious. Okay, do your research to see what your competitors are offering. Do you beat them with quality? Do you beat them with customer service? And then you cautiously but fearlessly move forward. You know the market. You've taken the time to make sure you're not going to fail. And then number 4, the most important thing, take time for yourself. You might be raising kids, you might be going to school, you might be doing all of that and starting your own business so that you can be financially independent. Take time for yourself. When I overextended myself with my first computer run, I barely made it through that one. My treat to myself was I would watch my favorite anime, because I like anime. Once per week, I'd watch my show. I would get 2 cheesy gordita crunches with chicken from Taco Bell, 2 sides of Chipotle sauce, because that's how I like it. And that was my treat to myself every single week. It was all I could afford for a while. If you don't take time for yourself, you're gonna experience what all of us know, burnout. Okay, so what is burnout? Burnout is where you've been doing something so focused for so long, it becomes just a monotonous routine and you don't feel like you're getting anything out of life. You've got to take that psychological time for yourself. That's that me time. You might have kids, family issues. I've got a special needs cat. All those different distractions, by the end of the week, you're struggling to make it through. You're struggling to maintain that passion. Yeah, you want to fearlessly but cautiously move forward, but I'm tired and I just want to watch a TV show. Take some time for yourself to watch that TV show. I like Reese's Pieces. Maybe it's a guilty pleasure, whatever the kids are doing these days. Because if you burn yourself out, that is the most important one that I could tell you. Because there's no quicker way to get tunnel vision than not taking time for yourself. Those are the 4 rules that I've lived by and they've served me very well. All right, so what we're going to move on to is a service-based business. Ta-da! So when I started off with consulting and with tutoring college students, those both happened about the same time, mostly by accident. So I had this struggling student with a 1.87 GPA, if memory serves. He graduated his master's degree magna cum laude. He just heard what I was talking about one day, and I said, hey, let me help you out. It was something I was interested in. And then I started marketing on Craigslist. Back then, it was completely free. So I got into that, and then he introduced me to a couple of his business friends. Why not? I was a busy guy that got tired of working for somebody else. I don't like a lot of the corporate environments out there. Not a huge fan. So what happened from there is they were going to University of Phoenix online, Grand Canyon University, pretty much pick an online college, and I was working with people that were going there and struggling. And then as I was going through the tutoring thing, I started networking with my students, and my students were putting me in touch with other people in business that needed some business consultation. It worked. Some of them needed a website, so I built a website. I taught myself how to do it within a day or 2. I was passionate about getting into what I wanted to do. I did my research, and I cautiously but fearlessly moved forward, and I took the time for myself. That was enough for me to be happy. I want this economy to grow, and I want your business to go boo. I want that to happen. I want you to be successful. So don't overextend yourself. Okay, I mowed my sister's lawn for the extra $50 to get the part that I needed when I was struggling. And sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. But with a service-based business, the most valuable asset that you can possibly have is a referral. Word of mouth, there is a place called Titan Auto Repair. Okay? I drive a classic vehicle, and they did the things to my classic vehicle that I couldn't do. They were like Amazon to eBay. eBay was nice and cool, but Amazon was like, we could do things eBay can't. Okay, that's exactly what Titan Auto Repair did for me, is they were doing things that other auto repair shops couldn't do. And the price was extraordinarily commensurate. I liked it. I was super enthusiastic about it. They were already 5 stars. So what did I do? I told my friends about it. Since then, they've gotten 2 friends of mine that are clients. Okay, word of mouth is so important. I worked for Taco Bell. Yay! Every customer that we lose costs us $40,000 during their lifetime. Basically, word of mouth means, hi friend, I saw this person over here, I went to this person over here, and they were just amazing. And yes, I know, you want to throw a snowball into that person's face. Follow me on this. Well, I was looking online, yeah, but it worked for me. Yeah, look at that, look at that, look, you. All right, I'll check them out, I'll get a price quote. If they go to that service and they say, you know what, not bad. All of a sudden, you just won that client and their friends, and their friends. It's a friend fest, yes! That's how you grow a business. It's why ratings online matter. It's basically a proxy word of mouth recommendation, or stay away, no, don't do it. Ever since the beginning of time, word of mouth marketing is so important. Back in the day, you know, beyond the old English 800 days, you had this thing called apprentice, journeyman, and master. So basically, associate's degree, bachelor's degree, master's degree. That's how we translate it into modern day. In your field, in your specialization, doing a service-based business, people knew who the good blacksmiths were. Like in a big city, everybody knew who the good blacksmiths were because they were good. Now, if you want to go a little bit cheap, if you want to go the Walmart side of things, you went over to this blacksmith. But if you wanted quality, you went to that blacksmith. I mean, some people are just looking for the price, some people are looking for the quality. From China, whatever. Do you want to be the quality person, or do you want to be the price person for the service? But again, high level. We're talking way up here right now. We're going to get into specializations in the near future, but not this episode. With a service-based business, number one, you don't want to spend 5 hours making enough to go buy Taco Bell. I like Taco Bell. You also don't want to spend 1 hour and do absolute crap that's going to ruin your reputation. All right, there is a reason why some businesses succeed and have repeat customers for life. Don't get me wrong, I can do my own tires and all of that, but if I need new tires, if I don't just need like, hey, can you fix this hole? I love, that my family loves, that all of my friends love, from word of mouth, Les Schwab. That's my number one. And I've tried them all. And I've tried the little mini shops over there that have all these little leftover tires, and that's fine, but I want quality for tires. Brand loyalty comes from word of mouth marketing because you did a good job for a good price. That lets them know that you are an honest person, that you're an honest business. You're worth referring to other people. So if you're advertising your services or if you're advertising any product, you want to make sure that your reputation stays intact. You want it to be way up here. If it takes a little bit more time, if you have to grow a little bit more slowly, please grow slowly. But you've got to make sure that your price is commensurate to your service. And you don't want to give away things for free. Because when I was doing the computer business, I had a warranty on my computers. It was a 30-day warranty, bumper to bumper. So if they screwed it up, then I would fix it as long as the actual parts, like there was no visual damage or water damage or any of that. I regretted it to some degree, but I maintained it. What do I mean by that? So there was one person, and I'll never forget this one, within 3 hours of buying a computer from me, calls me up and says, "It's got viruses everywhere, fix it!" Okay. That wasn't my fault, but because of how I worded my warranty, I had to fix it. I had to reinstall their entire computer. I don't want to speculate on the type of websites they visited. It was impressive, but that's way beyond the point. Basically, my warranty locked me into a loss. Now, it was a loss for just that sale, and that person came back about a year and a half later and bought another computer from me, a laptop for their daughter. So that worked. But you got to make sure that if you offer a warranty, legally, you have to uphold it. That is the actual law. So with your service-based business, look at your competition. Like whatever you think is the closest competitor to you, test it out if you can. See what the experience is like. Because I'm guessing if you're watching this far in and you want to start your own business, then you definitely need to look into what does my competition look like, and you've got to make sure that you're going to make a profit. Passionate research, and by doing the proper research, you can prevent a lot of issues later on. When you understand what your competition does, do they have forms that you never even thought of? But for the moment, if you want to start your own business, I will show you how to do it. If you already have a business and you want to refine it, keep watching these shows. Seriously, I wouldn't be doing this show if I didn't care about you. You guys starting businesses helps our GDP, okay? It helps our local economies, all because of you. So I want to empower you with the best information I can provide, to be able to do everything that you want to do. Anyway, my name is Sean, it's not Bob, and I hope to see you next time.